It's been just over 2 months now since we started our conversation about splitting up our nitrogen applications, and I appreciate all the feedback that I've gotten from you out there during that 2-month time frame. A lot of you reached out to me after the planter video that we did, talking about moving some of our nitrogen application to that planter bar and getting some of it on during the spring planting season. And while I certainly understand the limitations that many of you face in speed, space, and capacity to accomplish that, the conversation was still fruitful nonetheless. Well, today, in the month of February, it's time to circle back around and talk about how that big application fits into our nitrogen cycle. I'm Keith Byerly, Precision Ag Manager at Central Valley Ag, and this is your agronomy focus video that corresponds with my article on the CVA website. When we talk about that big application, I know there are a lot of images that go in people's minds, and they're very specific for your operation. That big application for some might mean the Volley Anhydrous application that meets all of our nitrogen needs for the year. For others, it might be a spring application that's half or a little bit more of our nitrogen needs, or even a 32 application as a weed and feed that we get out there in the month of April. All of those things are important to our cycle, but before we go any further, I want to make it perfectly clear that I'm not advocating against our Volley Anhydrous. Volley Anhydrous is an essential piece in this puzzle in the logistics of being able to get our nitrogen on each and every year. And not just for you, the grower, in your operation. I realize speed, space, manpower, and horsepower all play a factor into how you apply your nitrogen and when you do it. But the industry as a whole can't support this nitrogen need that we have for 90+ million acres of corn without Volley Anhydrous. There just isn't simply the pipeline, so to speak, of transportation, logistics, and storage spots to handle all of our nitrogen needs from March 1st through the end of a growing season across the Midwest or across the United States as a whole. What I am advocating for is that we look at reducing that big application rate. Whether it's 200 pounds or 100 pounds, we need to look at the gamble that we're playing out there. When I say look at the gamble, we need to always understand that that big application is a gamble against the weather. Whether it goes out in November or in March, the winter months are a fairly stable time. We're not going to see a lot of nitrogen loss at that point in time. But from March 1st until June 20th, that plant or whatever's growing out in the field doesn't uptake a lot of nitrogen. We're playing a waiting game to see if the plant's going to grow before the weather takes our nitrogen and exposes it to a conditional loss. It's a little bit like going to the casino and betting on roulette. You never know what you're going to get, but you know that there's always something on the table that can completely take everything you've got away from you. That's what we want to look at. When we put 200 pounds of nitrogen out there and we know that we've got the potential to lose 10 or 15% to a weather event, that's a fairly substantial dollar loss that we might be exposed to. When we have 80 or 100 pounds out there and have that same 10 to 15% loss, it's significant, but it's not catastrophic. My call to arms today is simply this. I want you all to engage your FSA, your trusted advisor, your agronomist, or whoever it is that's part of your operation that helps you make your nutrient management decisions. I want you to talk about the nitrogen cycle, and I want you to seriously look at and understand the risks that you take with whatever that biggest nitrogen application is out there on your farm. Because if we can moderate that risk and take away the potential to lose 20 or 30 pounds, we're playing a game that helps us with our standing with the environmental folks, helps us with the understanding and what we have to do with our budget, and most importantly, helps us ensure that we have our license to operate in our possession for years to come.